Good afternoon, and welcome to the third ELETS Healthcare Transformation Summit. We are now heading into a panel discussion on data driving future healthcare. We are delighted to welcome Mr. Ravindra Karinjkar, Chief Executive Officer, Kiran Super Multi-Speciality Hospital. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Vikram Agrawal, Chief Executive Officer, Vishwaraj Hospital. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Garima. Good afternoon, all.
Mr. Naresh Yelapragada, Chief Information Officer, Rainbow Children Hospital. Welcome, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Dr. Ritu Garg, Zonal Director, Fortis, Gurgaon. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello.
Mr. Anurup Sehgal, Cluster IT Head, Fortis Healthcare Limited. Welcome, sir. And Mr. Kishore Gojia, Head IT, CIMS Hospital, who will be the session moderator.
Hello.
Welcome. I now hand over the session to Mr. Kishore Gojia to take this discussion forward. Over to you, sir.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to thank to Elite Group, who has provided us such a good platform wherein all the leaders can share their knowledge, and it will be beneficial for us. I'll not take much more time. I'll straight away jump onto discussion part. That today's topic is data-driven future in healthcare. As we all know, nowadays data is much more important, and we are aware how it is going to helpful for the organization for the futuristic approach. And such a big revolution happening nowadays, especially in healthcare, because healthcare has taken some drastical turn on digital platform. And yes, of course, COVID has helped a lot, and they have given one direction to healthcare to choose the technology, to go on technology. So healthcare provider can give a proper care and appropriate support to the community on the best interest part. So again, I welcome to all the panelists on this discussion, and I have a few set of things which will be a beneficial for the audience, wherein I would like to request to all my panelists to give your opinion on this part. We don't have any interest, and that is a disclaimer from our side that there is no personal support on the product part, and we are not supporting anything in terms of it is just a discussion and knowledge sharing platform. So directly jumping on the question part, in the data-driven process and in the futuristic healthcare, I just request to my first panelist, Dr. Ravindra sir, wherein I would like to ask your thought on the combine AI and data with the digital endpoint for a patient care in the future healthcare. Sir, please, can you please give your input on this part?
Yeah. Hello, all panelists. It was, I must thank ELETS for giving another opportunity to interact with the various CEOs as well as the doctors and the people in the same field. What I see today is the data and the AI which are being combined. In fact, if I can give an example of today itself in our hospital Surat, where we have started robotics, new generation robotic, probably one of the first in the world, where the data is being provided, but apart from that, artificial intelligence plays a great role in treatment of the patient. While the minimum cutting, while identifying the vessels nearby, while giving a rational movement of the hand, and all so many things. So what I am coming to is that this data and AI combined together is the future of healthcare, especially the surgical work, especially in cancer surgeries, especially in the pediatric surgeries, and many more areas where this will be required. Data as well as the AI will help to identify various diseases well in advance. They can identify the course of a particular disease and possible damage very well in advance. So this all will help the mankind to get the better treatment, also get the better future. Longevity will increase, the ease of medicine, ease of healthcare will increase. Only thing which I would be little concerned over last 10 years, almost with the 40 years I am in it, but last 25 years with the data, I am dealing with that in various hospitals. This data overload is happening. And with the data overload, exactly what to extract out of that is becoming more and more difficult. So from that point of view, I would suggest various software companies should limit the data to a particular level and add AI to that, so that that can be helpful to the various healthcare professionals. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So Ravindra sir has rightly said that data is nowadays much more important for the healthcare community. In that era, specifically, if we have a clean data on our system will be definitely give you a fantastic result. Like, because AI is depend on data. If any garbage goes in, definitely garbage come out. So as rightly Ravindra sir has said, yes, it is very much required that data should be clean, and then and only we get a good result. So I would request to Vikram sir, please give your opinion on the same question, sir. What is your thought?
So thanks, Kishore. Thanks, ELETS team for inviting me over here. Let me just deconstruct the problem for healthcare a bit. So we in India now stand at an average age or life expectancy of 70 years. It's increasing every year. There are most of our diseases are because of lifestyle related disorders. We face emergencies related to COVID and other such exigencies. So we need some solutions which are not for episodic treatments. We need a long-term solution for so many diseases. And this is something which can only be provided to us when we are able to integrate the data from patients, from hospitals to the AI delivery system. And then we are able to come out in the open providing these answers to the patient and the healthcare. So this is beyond doubt that we definitely need to go ahead in AI plus data driven. Now, another important question is the healthcare cost. So we often see and hear that, so 80% of our costs are still out of pocket. Even hospitals are at times struggling to be EBITDA positive or sustain themselves. So getting more and more number of people or manpower will again not be a beneficial thing for healthcare in future. This is where again, to bring out the efficiencies, where AI-driven data will definitely be of help to the healthcare organizations, healthcare delivery organizations. Important will be where do we really focus this. So as Dr. Ravindra rightly said, currently robotic surgery is going on in his hospital, or today it did go there. So will it be for precision diagnosis, precision clinical care diagnosis? Will it be for prediction modeling? That is somewhere where AI and data will have to come together. But I think this is where the future of healthcare lies, maybe 10 years, 15 years from now.
Thank you, Dr. Vikramji. As rightly you said, of course, cost is a major part because as in being a healthcare service provider, we should have to also consider cost so that the operational cost and everything expenditure we can control and somehow we can give a affordable care to our patient and for our to our community. That is again a good point from your side. So I would request Naresh ji to give your input about the combined AI and data with the digital endpoint for the specifically in patient care area.
Thanks, Kishore. Thanks, Elets, for the opportunity. If you look at the panel of experts who we have today, I think from a technology perspective, me and Anurup are here. So while the CEOs on the panel would take from an operation, from a business need perspective, I would like to touch upon from a technology perspective, right? For me, data and AI are one of the tools to make our operations better, streamlined, more efficient, so that at every touch point, my business person gets the information he or she needs at a fingertip, right? Second piece to it is, do we have such kind of technology solutions to be implemented in a hospital or a chain of hospitals so that the business need is met? The answer is yes and no. Yes, because every hospital running today has some sort of a HIS or an EMR system running, right? And not all HIS systems are standardized. When I say standardized, are they giving the kind of data which people need? Again, that is questionable. So having said that, from a technology perspective, the way I would see it is AI is a eventual end game we need to play it, but not the starting point, right? We should not start a hospital or we should not implement a system just because it has AI capability. The way I would see it is, let's start implementing a technology which can smoothen the process, get all the data points which both the clinicians need, which both doctors and nurses need, which the operations staff need, which the executives need, and then see how AI would start helping analyzing those data and giving intelligent inputs to those decision makers. It is just not, if it start with an AI and then implement into a hospital, it's like, using a technology which we don't know, the use cases are not well defined, and then you would go saying, okay, we have got this technology, how do we implement it? So if you ask me to summarize, one is to understand your business need, right? To understand your data needs, and then implement the solution which start getting the data. Next step is bringing an AI solution on top of it, which can analyze and give the sufficient inputs to different business stakeholders.
Absolutely right, Naresh. You have shared a very hardcore technological stuff, and that is very pretty clear. As in being an IT leader in my organization, all the IT leaders are aware that organization has to select the solution which will be very fitted according to their practice and roadmap and the strategy. Why? Because every healthcare organization cannot be on same page because their practice, their approach, their protocol may be a different on scale. So example, if I can talk about the SIMS hospital, in our organization, we have implemented the entire BI platform, wherein on a single click, my CFO, my CEO, and the top management will get so many reports, and they can build a new strategy, and that will be helpful for them. And of course that the solution is not a standalone in terms of we require to lot many of integration, we require a clean data, as Ravindra said that clean data is most important. And apart all these things, that of course the cost is affecting a major part in the same era. So yes, it is rightly the said by you. And now I'll come to with the Dr. Ritu ji. So I request you that please give your insight on the AI and data with the digital endpoint specifically for the patient care, because from the management perspective, might be you have some different view.
Okay. So, AI is the most buzzword, wherever you go, whichever industry, healthcare, otherwise it's, you always keep on hearing about the AI. So what I'll do is I'll, share some of the live examples of, some of the cases where AI didn't go the way we thought it would, and where it has been fairly successful in the world. So, a couple of years back, the most advanced AI project in the world that was talked about in healthcare was IBM Watson. I remember it was like, I think 4 years back, and there was a big collaboration that was announced that, IBM is coming up and they've finally cracked the oncology for the entire world. And now they have enough data, and there are a couple of chains who did tie up with IBM Watson, and it had the brightest minds, and they also had a very good international healthcare partner with them to develop the algorithms. Now, in my view, as I look, and today, unfortunately, that whole project has not gone the way it would have. It's all disintegrated. MD Anderson is out of it. It's probably, devalued considerably, and probably they are now selling it at like a very huge discounted value. So when we look back as to what happened, so one, obviously the project was a little ahead of time. It's very exciting to get the data points, but as just some of my co-panelists mentioned, you tend to also get a tendency to lose in the data points. It's very important as to what you are capturing, and also sometimes we underestimate the amount of data that is required to make sense for an artificial algorithm to be correct, and especially when it is about saving lives of people. What it means is that, one of the case studies that I was reading about it, I realized that the number of patients' real-time data that the IBM Watson project needed was humongous to be able to get the algorithm right. That meant that, you would have to have at least 10-20% of the oncologists sharing their live learnings about every single patient and sharing it with that team for the computer to get smarter. Now, what is the incentive for, or what is, how do you motivate and drive the rest of the clinicians to actually annotate and share their learnings with the computer and with this project? I think that seems, to my mind, a major disconnect. Also Google has been doing a lot of work on AI, between deep learning in UK and US. They have been trying to do some, so they once approached me about, they wanted a lot of colonoscopy images from us. And they wanted that, they're trying to build an algorithm where they can just take the colonoscopy images and then build a solution where they can throw up that, what is this colonoscopy image showing. Now, to be able to get that knowledge, they are looking for millions of images, not just the images, but the images where the gastroenterologist has actually given their thought process on what do they think this image look like, and then what is the end result. So there is an impression that a gastroenterologist might make on an image, but then ultimately that patient might go up for a biopsy, and then there could be a final diagnosis. So they need the entire chain of millions of patients to be able to get that algorithm right. And that is a huge challenge. It's not just the data. They need brain behind that data. They need the thinking behind that data and get the sense made out of that data for them to develop an artificial algorithm that a computer can throw up. And that seems to be the biggest challenge. So we would all need to take a little bit step back, as some of the colleagues said right now, and strengthen our processes. And also, when we do these projects, have clinicians on board, dedicated, believing in that system and guiding them to get it right. The most successful, in my view, so far in healthcare has been on X-rays, where they are able to pick up tubercular nodes, and they are able to do mass screenings and are able to do that. But again, the AI or a technology in particular has no meaning till there is a very in-depth clinical need, correlation, and sort of partnership in developing those AI tools. It's only those clinicians who believe in it and who are willing to invest in it for multiple years, multiple data, only those areas, in my view, would develop as we go forward.
Yes, Dr. Ritu, as rightly you said that for the AI development, and the right algorithm is most important, because AI always work on data and the input which will be provided by us or clinician or all of the stakeholders, because that depend, it is an algorithm, and if we have a right algorithm, then and then only we get the appropriate result from that. So yes, that is very true. Now I'll come with the Anupji, I need your input. You are a tech guy, so you can share your technological experience on the AI and data with the digital endpoint, specifically in patient care.
Georgie, like the way I see, India has approximately 19 lakh beds available, and if I say out of this 61% with a private healthcare, and out of the 61%, 95% is a smaller healthcare group, where the beta is channel and they are single digit, and the technology investment is very tough for them. And out of it, 1 lakh beds are continuously monitoring, like if we get 24 across 7 monitoring to ICU bed or ICU beds. I think that the digital endpoints can make any bed, any hospital bed for the 27 across monitoring, and the critical alert can be sent to the patient. That will save the cost of the hospital. That will also a pocket-friendly treatment to the patient, where the patient is in ICU only for the vital monitoring. We can do this part. Other factors, we know the future of the healthcare with the home care, telemedicines, remote surgery, and a virtual ICUs. I think these all digital points, digital data points, and the endpoints can help us out for the futuristic.
Okay. Yes, Sengalji, you have rightly said there are so many things which need to be take care in the AI part also. In that case, I would like to share one small example which we have implemented in our hospital, wherein in SIMS, how AI is easy for us if we have rightly implement. Before a couple of month ago or before 1 year ago, the one of the department is regularly downloading a few reports from the HMIS. They do the data mining and then they used to submit to the finance department. This was the process, wherein every month for at least 3 to 4 days they have to spend the time. 3 to 4 people are acquiring and they required to put their effort. What we simply put the AI process into same, wherein process itself will fetch the data, do the data mining according to the process and requirement, and automatically system will send an email to the finance guy. So within a half an hour, within a 1 hour, during the night time, system will take care, AI agent will run on that part, and data is available with the stakeholder. So if we, yes, that is a very true. If we rightly approach, if we use the correct algorithm, if it is appropriate according to organizational need, that will definitely going to give a result, and that will be end of the day helpful for the patient care. So moving towards, I have one more input from for the all the panelists. I have another question wherein I request all the panelists to give your input for that. Nowadays, the AI and digital data is much more into that era. That digital technology offer a data-driven foundation for the future healthcare industry. How can data be optimized to create a robust roadmap for the healthcare? So I come with the Dr. Ravindra ji. I would like to ask you your input on this part.
A very pertinent question, because the optimization of data, as I initially said, the overload of data happening, the optimization of data is very important. Last again few years, which I am seeing, number of softwares at a different level of treatment, whether it is diabetes, whether it is varicocele, whether it is saphenous veins, whether it is anything else related to the abdomen, eyes, ENT, multiple softwares have come up and they are at a different level of development. So the outcome from that is very limited. One thing, the integration of these various healthcare, because I remember 2 years back, there was a big conference in Delhi where we have attended, and this was done by one of the leading software company in US, and all people were there. And one of the major questions which was discussed, we were shown almost 200 to 250 small softwares like patches, and they were not integrated. So what hospital should do? Each one separately, each one to be taken separately and treated separately, trained separately, and how do we integrate that data? And that data again, how do you? So there is a need for optimization of data. Here I would suggest the IT people, the IT companies which are doing it, because the conference was with the Microsoft and other people, IT people who are doing it, need to take into confidence the actual users, not a doctor. A doctor with a degree is okay. He will give a general idea. Specific subject content knowledge and not on the casual. Probably you will have to do the beta version on the patient, see how it happens. And if you don't require a particular data, you ask the question to the doctor, because one of the major challenges I was to talk about that in my previous hospital was to convert our ICU in a paperless ICU. Now the biggest challenge was that the machine was not talking to the computer, because these were all old monitors and these were all ventilators, and they were not talking to the monitors. And when they were not talking to the computer, how to get that data was a challenge for us. Not only that was the challenge, that we have to proceed with some kind of manual intervention and put it again. So here, how much data we should put into the machine? We have to optimize that, because there was no point in putting thousands of things, because in ICU, those who have worked in ICU, I don't know, will see that the charts are like 20 inches by 15 inches, and the nurse is all the time filling those charts. If they are computerized, digitalized and kept into one place, and you have a trains available, that will help them. But how much you should enter into that, you have to optimize that. So you have to ask the treating physician what he requires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Then see to it that that only is entered. Other things are maybe the nursing management or diet management. You don't have to enter that, or probably once you have to enter. So data optimization with the help of different associations or different senior group of people treating that kind of disease is very important. Otherwise, you will again overload yourself with so much data that taking out something from will be very difficult. And as madam said, it's an algorithm, but algorithm starting with a wrong point or going on a wrong road will never lead to a positive thinking. Because I remember when I was in 1996, 5 in Tata Hospital, very big computers from BRC we have brought, because that time computers were not there. And then we were used to ask certain questions. What investigations you will do? We used to tick this. Then what you will do the treatment, this. Then how will advise this. At the end of that, it will be either patient is dead or patient has got severe with the disease. So this will start if the algorithm is wrong. An algorithm can be right only if we have millions of samples to treat with. And again, not only samples to treat with, you have to collate that data in such a way that it will help you. So the content knowledge or the people directly treating it is very important. Common platform for most of the software is also important, and what is required, because human tendency is that I need this also, but actually when you have to put it, then you feel I don't need this much, only these 2 things are sufficient. So we have to work on that actually.
Yes, sir. Rightly you said that for the data optimization, it is very much important that what kind of information we need to store on the platform, so that if it is beneficial, yes, it is required, and if it is not going to beneficial for the further review, analysis, care, and all these things, we should have to restrict that input, so that system should be in proper shape, wherein whatever we required, we can get out of that system. So I request Vikram sir to please share your input on the same question.
So, Kishore, my 2 cents on this is when we are talking about digital technologies and when we are talking about optimization of data, what are the definitions that we are going ahead with this? What is the objective? What is the endpoint? And then what are the deviations which we are planning to take when we are going ahead with the digitalization of all the data? So objective, how I see it is there will be 2 paths. One is your business intelligence, which is somewhere I would say is the easier part, and a lot of work has been done successfully in the last few years. Right, all of us have those dashboards where we can strategize, where we can take decisions on basis on the data points and the opinion or other opinion shared by the digital system. Now, the important or the critical part is the patient care or the patient experience part. And this is where, as Ritu rightly said, IBM Watson has been a failure. or so-called failure. There have been many other instances. So AI is there, or digital world in healthcare, digital is there in healthcare since 1970s. It started with Mycin, went on to IBM Watson. But somewhere it has not come out with the results other than radiology and other than X-ray, particularly X-ray. So what is it that is holding AI from coming out with such results? Is still, is it the number of data points? So no, I mean, we have enough and more of data points. I mean, if a doctor sees a patient, a doctor does not see as many number of patients, or has not, I would say, eyes to as many data points that a system can have. But still the accuracy of diagnosis which a human being has is better than the AI-driven systems, right? So what is it that is causing a doctor to perform better in many circumstances and not the system? Is it collection of more number of or millions of data points? I don't know. I mean, I as a doctor, or as a matter of fact, most of us as a doctor have not come across so many number of patients which a system would have. So that is still a black box for me, where I don't know what's happening inside. I don't know actually why AI is not performing up to the mark. But yes, one thing which I would definitely like to say, optimization is needed. Somewhere we need to participate more, going to the, I would say, the user end, which is not only the doctors, but also the patients. For example, let me tell you, Vishwaraj Hospital is located in one part of Pune, where we get a lot of rural population drainage to our area. Lifestyle diseases are as rampant in rural areas. So when we are coming out with such solutions, we should create a value perception for them. We should create something important for them, that they should come back to us again and again, and it is bringing something good for them. So to summarize, is AI still a little premature to come? Maybe yes, as Anurup said, I think as one of the co-panelists said, but there is a definite need where we need to go on digital platforms, and only a digital platform can solve the whole situation of limiting our deviations from the treatment protocols which we have. So standardization of treatment protocols and following them can very well be provided by the digital setup, provided we have clean and sanitized data. Thanks, Kishore.
Absolutely right, and that is very true. Because of that, as in being a tactic leader in the healthcare organization, what usually do, we as a IT leader, we select the product and we give as much as option whichever required by the consultant or the end users. But somehow, if we can optimize all the input, as Dr. Ravindra rightly said, we should have to understand that what kind of data we require to capture. And as Dr. Vikramji rightly said, that optimization is very much needed. Why? Because of that, ROI should be in the same era. Because if we provide a ABC XYZ kind of product, that will not gonna solve the purpose, or maybe AI may not able to give you a result on that top of that. So I come with the Nareshji. Nareshji, please give your input, because you are also a hardcore technologist in this panel. And what is your input and insight for the data optimization?
Well, Kishorji, the way I see it is, we all agree across the panel and across the healthcare industry as a whole, so data is the new oil. We all know that. But the challenge is the right data at the right time, at the right place, in the right hands for us to take an efficient decision. If you look at what are the challenges which healthcare as an industry is facing right now, is again, we have to have different perspectives to it. One is, as a patient, I would expect more data. I would expect more thought process coming from the hospital or the doctor I visit. From a doctor's perspective, I would need to see more data points, or the actual, the case on a case-to-case basis. What are the data points which he or she would need to take an informed decision? From a business executive perspective, they would need to have their data points for them to take, strategize, implement, execute, streamline, etc. So every stakeholder in the healthcare ecosystem, especially in India, have their own perspectives of or the need for data. Right. Second question is, are we capturing all the data points in the IT systems what we have, especially in a hospital setup? The answer is yes and no. One is, the basic stuff of patient registration, admission, discharge are all there. Any small to a medium to a large HS, companies give that. But the new age technologies which we're trying to implement, be it the mobile apps, be it the AI tools, etc., those are giving a different perspective, and people are getting to realize that these technologies can give us the data point which we may not have thought of, right? So I see it in two ways. One, obviously, your data point should cover the need of the business as far as I'm concerned. One, because the different stakeholders have their own data needs. Once those things are covered, then you would see how would you improve upon using those data to make your system more efficient, to make patients' life more efficient, and to make life of the people working in a hospital easier. The way I see it is that way. So obviously, every technology has some sort of a data which keeps getting captured. But the way I would approach is, first we need to decide what is that we want. What is that I give to the patient? What is that I don't give to the patient? What is that I need for make my effective decisions? Once that decision is done, then we work backwards in terms of which technology or which kind of application would give me such data. Then decide on that and start implementing it. Once you start, just because you implement a solution doesn't mean that you get data from day one, right? It has a start. It has to go through a methodical process and a strategic direction in terms of what you need, what is available, how do you implement it, and extract data.
Yes, Nazji. So as you rightly said, that AI and the data driven is a constant journey. It is a journey. It is not a one-stop solution wherein we implement and that's it. So it is a long-term journey. It's required constant improvement, correction, upgradation, update, and all this stuff. So I would like to ask Dr. Ritu to give your opinion on the same part.
So, in my view, there are two parts to it. One, I think when we talk about data optimization, it will have to be done as an industry and not just as one hospital alone. It kind of loses the value if it's only one person is doing in the entire ecosystem. Second is, I think there are three ways to optimize the data: standardization, simplification, and integration. In my view, so standardization is that when all of us speak the same language, it just makes the data a lot more richer. So I give an example, like even in our systems today, somebody writes cabbage, somebody writes coronary artery bypass, somebody writes coronary artery. Now, ICD classification is only one part of it, which is very hardly, not adopted, especially in India so far, because there's no mandate around it. So the first is to get that language right, which is standardized and used across. I think that is number one. Second is data simplification. You decide exactly what Dr. Naresh was saying and some of the other panelists, that you decide what you want to track. So you decide the data points that you wanted to capture right. And those are then mandated to be captured right. And then, of course, others are optional and others may want to do, but you need to get your basic ABCD right, standardize it, simplify it. And third, very important aspect is integration. So how do you integrate your data across the ecosystem? And I think there is a fair bit of good dialogue happening between insurance companies and hospitals today. So as I see it, that, with this National Health Digital Mission, there would be a data portability that will happen, our data flowing to insurance schemes, insurance companies seamlessly, and also ultimately at some point, some data points, at the central database. Once we start doing that, I think that's when the data optimization and data will start making so much more sense. And that's when we would all benefit from each other and get much, much richer insights. Like patient comes in, the data is available to all the stakeholders in his or her patient journey in the same language, captured by same hospitals. And that's when I think we would reach, an ideal state of data optimization.
Perfect, rightly said. Because each and every healthcare service provider have multiple platforms. They have a multiple softwares, multiple protocols, all these things. And somewhere around down the line, end of the day, if it is not integrated internally, then end of the day, it may not be give you a good result in patient care. If it is integrated in such a way wherein no one has to do a repeat task and all these things, that will give a benefit to that. Say example, there are so many hospitals nowadays available in the era wherein appointment system is available on a different platform, on a mobile application. If they want to access their report and everything, that is also available on a different platform. So if it is integrated a single access platform, that will be definitely beneficial for the patient care. In the same line, I would like to request to Anurup ji to give a highlight on the same question.
So Kishore, we know that importance of data. Every panelist had discussed about the data importance, and the data is generated, but there are certain challenges to collect the data. Data is collecting at every piece, and it is generating in a very fast way. like the way Dr. Ravindra said, there are different applications which are not talking to each other. I think by API, putting a correct API, where the data can flow seamlessly between the two applications, three applications, and we have multiple applications, and combine to the one particular form. The second way which I say is data categorization is very, very important. That the data is generating, but we need to categorize the data. And the third part which I say is private player. We have to develop a strategy to how to streamline the data.
True, true. As so far as coming point on the discussion part, considering a time limit, I would like to throw a third question in my all the panelists, wherein we have discussed on the data AI part, data creation and control mechanism, and all these things. So our audience may be interested if we can give them an input on the major challenges to realizing to version of personalized health ecosystem in the data driven healthcare environment. So I would like to ask to Dr. Ravindra ji to give insight on the same part. Sir, your mic is mute.
Yeah, personalized healthcare system in data-driven healthcare environment. Here I have, as one of the panelists said, that as there are multiple stakeholders, each one has a different view on the whole thing. One is the personalized healthcare system from the point of view of patient, which is very important. Now, if you look at the various reports are generated in labs, X-ray and other places, the patient doesn't understand anything. The data which also provides the endpoint and also provides certain kind of information to the patient, he doesn't understand. Even his GP doesn't understand. So he again comes back to the square one, where he has to have the detailed answer to this digital data which is given to him. The second challenge which is thrown from the healthcare system itself, because these personalized data, these personalized softwares are given by various companies. I agree. But then there is a too much turnover in the IT departments, too much turnover into the software companies, that continuity of that and support for the future doesn't come. So at a particular time, you stop. And beyond that, something to happen, either the company doesn't have the person or the hospital have to pay a little more and there is a dispute. All these things happen. Again, the newer things which is coming up is the security of the data, because my personal data available to 100 people, not it's like a bank account available to 1,000 people calling me every day for loan and whatever the requirement is there. Similarly, my healthcare data available to everybody, not acceptable.
Sir, your mic is mute.
Yeah. So these things happen. The data security is another big challenge. The turnover of the software company people is another challenge. If a particular software is also not that good to give me the proper data or proper dashboard, then I would like to change it. But changing a company also is a very difficult thing. I started the Fortis Group of Hospital at Mohali long back in 2001, and within a year, that time owners, Shivinder and other people, we thought that the software which we have taken is substandard or not giving us the desired data or desired output. So we want to change, and it took 1.5 years, and still we couldn't change it. The reason is we are stuck with that. So whatever you may ask out of that may not happen. So this is happening too often. Even if the same company, people change, leave the company. So the environment in the software companies is also not so conducive to change it. The environment in the hospital is also not conducive for that. And patient wants certain things. clear, written into the data, written into the report, which data should provide it. It's not so. You ask for a blood report, you will get 100 indicators. These are not useful to you. You want HB and CBC. What is that? That is all you want. So at least that should be emphasized. Other things can come in. So what I am saying, that challenges are multiple: training of the people, turnover of the people, and the cost and maintenance. At one point of time, when people leave, suddenly nobody is there to look after me, and I have to call somebody else to do it who doesn't have the code, and it becomes difficult. So all that is an issue dealing with this. So you have to go with the open eyes, and if possible, see that these problems are handled beforehand before you go to the softwares.
Yes, Dr. Ravindraji, yeah, rightly you said that is very much important, because nowadays to retaining resource and retaining software and retaining the company who are supporting us, all three are in the big challenging era. Because of that, there are so many transits, time is going on, there are so many changes, security loophole and all this going on. So that is very much difficult for, as a healthcare service provider, as a tech leader, or as a technology service supporter. So I would like to request to Vikramji to give insight on the same part.
So Kishore, personalized health ecosystem. I think this is one of the most exciting fields in healthcare data science as of today. Why we understand that lifestyle diseases or our lifestyle, the way we live, is responsible for a significant majority of the diseases which we later incur on us. So if there is a proper vertical integration of data points, which leads us to know what are those interventions which can be done in a single individual's life, it will definitely lead to enhancement of not only clinical treatment which we are giving to the patient, personalized again, but will also lead to better experience and satisfaction from the patient point of view. So yes, as rightly said, security or data privacy is a major concern. Manpower is a major concern. Again, changing of people, getting good companies is a major concern. But one of the few areas which again we need to concentrate on is how do we get the ROI on the investments which we are doing in such new projects. So almost 15 to 20 billion dollars have been pumped into various startups where personalized healthcare has been the focus. Things are coming out well. There are companies who have become unicorns. There are companies who have become actually more than unicorns. But that whole product has to, actually the biggest challenge is somewhere I feel is that product which is coming out of these companies has to become something which creates that value in the mind of the people. And not only in the mind, but also in reality. So as Ritu said, IBM Watson, when it came, again, oncology, it was not doing that great. Mycin, as I mentioned earlier, when it came, it was not doing that great earlier again. So what is that value creation which is being created by these personalized healthcare systems becomes a very important point for what these personalized healthcare. And secondly, it should be adopted on a mass scale. So if you come out with a personalized healthcare scheme, yes, it has to be for individuals, but it should be applicable to almost everyone in the world. So that again becomes a major challenge for us. Yeah. Over to you.
Yes, agree, Dr. Vikramji. Rightly you said that we should have to understand the ROI perspective. Patient experience is also important, and it will be beneficial on a mass level. I would like to ask Nareshji to give input from your side.
Kishore, I think I would answer that question in on a three-way approach. One is the origin or the source. Second is how do we transmit and store. Third one is how do you make use of the data. Right. For a personalized ecosystem to be a reality where every patient in India, the clinical team who's managing the patient are able to manage him effectively, so that there's a personalized view to that person. For that to happen, these three stages are very important. Stage one is what is the source of data. I, as a patient, can visit any hospital any number of times today. I don't have to go to one hospital every time. Having said that, the applications or the software which is running in each of those units, which is capturing this data at this point in time, are not shared across on a common ecosystem. Thanks to NDHM, there's been some, light in the end of the tunnel to get this data to start sharing across, enterprises. That is the challenge where the origin piece is. Second, how do you transmit and store this data? Even though if you've crossed the stage one of connecting all these applications, getting data to transfer between different applications, bringing it to a common platform where the person who's supposed to see the data is only able to see the data, including the patient, is another huge challenge for us to solve. Do we have the technology in India which can do it? Of course we have. Technology is always there. But how do we identify and implement it in the right way is a challenge here. Second, that is the second part. How do you get transmit data and store it? Third part is how do you use it? Once you cross the first two stages, once data is there, then how do you securely transmit to the people so that effective decision making happens for every patient? That is stage 3. While stage 1, we are still in stage 1, right? We have not even reached stage 2 or stage 3. So there has to be a strategic focus in terms of how do we reach stage 3 and then work backwards. Right? Until unless that planning is there, then our stage 1 and stage 2 is also at fault.
True, true, absolutely true. I would like to ask Dr. Ritu to give an insight for the same.
Yeah, so I think it is pretty much in line with what our co-panelists say. I think, it is a utopia right now. I think we are not ready. We're not ready as an industry. We're not ready as hospitals and clinicians to actually get to advanced form of personalized health medicine. It is the ultimate goal. But just like we discussed that, we have to get our basics right at the moment. And I don't think any of us have got it right. The projects like this or development of personalized health records would need it's like a business transformation project where you need all these stakeholders, including the researchers, the clinicians, and patient themselves, to participate in it and develop the pathways and develop how they're going to get it right. And yes, data privacy is very important. So I'm sure with blockchain and a lot of changes in that, the data privacy law that is coming and is being debated in the parliament, I think with that at least one set of problem would get solved. The way I see it, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. When the jigsaw puzzle would be fully ready, that's when we would have clean, optimized data, which can be used either for AI or for patient, personalized healthcare systems. But right now, we've figured few pieces of that jigsaw puzzle, and rest all needs a lot of work to be done. And for that, the most important thing would be conviction of the organization which believes in it, and the second would be collaboration, because none of this expertise resides with one set of people. You need all sets of people together in a project manner to get this right. And I think that is the biggest challenge in general in healthcare. It's like everybody likes to work a little bit, excel in their own particular fields. But when you're talking about such advanced projects, you need all of them to collaborate seamlessly and work together. I think to get to that utopian situation, I think that is the biggest challenge. How do you get all the stakeholders together on one table and drive it as a project, as a large pilot? Maybe have 3-4 organizations come together, and also some of the firm believers and researchers who have got some algorithms right, and get them all together in a room and do a long scale, maybe a 2-year, a 3-year project. And there comes the economic cost as well. So, how do we fund such a project? I think that is the challenge.
True, absolutely true. I would like to ask to Anurop ji to give an insight on the same question.
I think the major challenge will be very part is the critical data. How do I save the data? The way I save my desktop, laptops, and a server from the antivirus part, like where the one patch is updated and the every computer get patched up. With the data endpoint, if there is a risk, if there is some virus, if there is some kind of data malware happen, how do I save this part? So from the technology part, I think the data risk part, like I need to see how do I save it out, how do I give access to the end user, to the clinician, or to a care provider, and data privacy. How do I give data privacy? And we need to have a plan for the investment in education, training, and to recruitment also.
Anurabji, you rightly said that data privacy is topmost nowadays, because in a way, the way organizations are adopting the technology, simultaneously they are also creating, and the risk factor is also associating with the same technology. And to for the risk mitigate, the training part is very important. The education of the end user, that is very, very, very much important nowadays, because the way nowadays threat is increasing, education is playing a major role. So considering the time, I would like to request all the panelists to give a final input and insight from you on our today's topic of the data driven future healthcare. Please give a 1 minute, please take a 1 minute time and give a brief about it, so that we can conclude the session exactly on time. I request you to please give an input, Dr. Ravindraji, from your side first.
Data-driven future is the future of healthcare. But in my opinion, today, all data-driven softwares as well as applications are running around periphery of the healthcare. They are not concentrating on the center of the healthcare. They are very little concentrating on the serious diseases and treatment of that. As Madam said, that it's a jigsaw puzzle, but only at the periphery you have done it. Center you have not done it. There is a lot of efforts need to be done. Again, I am emphasizing with a small experience, half a minute. Whenever a software is being launched, the training is given to the lowest person, or whenever a software is to be launched, the information is taken from the user. Fortunately and unfortunately, in healthcare, we have the users which are very low educated. The nurses which are BSc or JNM, the ward class who are hardly graduates, they cannot foresee what my organization will require. But taking data from that, Q from that, you develop something. And later on, I go on asking, this is not there, this is not there, this is not there, and it causes problem. But ultimately, this is going to help the human being. This is going to help the patients, because more and more difficult areas will be conquered with the help of AI and give you a forecasting of what is happening. I have seen in cancer cases, I have seen in ophthalmic cases, I have seen in other cases also, where it has helped considerably to understand what is happening in future in that particular disease well in advance. And that is where the future lies. It may not help the total treatment, it cannot replace the human, it cannot replace the doctor also, however AI you put in. But it will help as an adjunct to the whole treatment and make it much more easier for everybody. Thank you.
Yes. Dr. Vikramji.
So artificial intelligence and data-driven or digitalization of healthcare is the place to be maybe 5 to 10 years from now. But this is the correct time when we should start working on it. And I would say we need to create that ecosystem in the ecosystem and environment for this to happen. For this, hospitals, governments, doctors, and the patients will have to come on one platform where we get the correct sanitized data, correct interpretations. And then one of the major challenge, which is change management, which is where we refuse to accept what the system is saying, is something we have to throw out of the window. Be ready to accept the new changes and then take it in a stride. So yes, I'm totally for it, but it may be just some time before we see the good results coming out.
Dr. Naresh?
George, I think to summarize 2-3 points. One is we need to know the end game we are working on, right? Until unless the end game is decided, all this might be a step in the wrong direction. Second, there are different perspectives to it, right? Every stakeholder in the ecosystem has to be consulted to understand what their data requirements are. Then third is to have the right technology in the right time. It's just not buying a technology just because you have budgets and implementing and everything and expecting it to start working on day one. It will never happen like that. So it has to be at the right technology, at the right time, in the right place. So I think if the ecosystem is thought in advance, then if you put these pieces together, I think we'll have a very robust and a data-driven healthcare going forward.
Dr. Ritu?
Yeah. So, to summarize, thank you very much. I think it's a very pertinent data. It's a very pertinent point, and it's good to debate. It just helps us rethink about our own strategies. At Fortis, we have taken a lead, and we are investing heavily on, data optimization, artificial intelligence business, trying to build, trying to invest in the building blocks and get it ready. We would love to partner and also collaborate and also work with all the stakeholders, be it researchers, be it the new startups, be it anybody else, and do our bit in establishing the protocols as well as algorithms, and work very closely in getting it right. I'm sure we will in a couple of years. But right now, the onus is on each of us as business heads, as CEOs, to start believing in it, talking to our teams, and also actually doing some groundwork. And at Fortis, especially, I would say that, we are more than happy to do that. We're already doing it on our end. We're already in dialogue with many people, and, we can do as much as possible. So we would welcome any such collaborative projects. Thank you.
Dr. Anurag.
So Dr. Naresh correctly mentioned correct data, right technology, and right time to support human, not to become a care provider. We need to support human being.
True. So far as from my side, all the panelists has already given their point. We have covered most of the point, but yes, it is a journey. It is not a one single stop solution. Specifically, if I can just share one single point from my side, healthcare organization nowadays, they are aware and they are much more accepting the data-driven system. Why? Because we have a patient flow, those who are no matter which age group they are, but now they are started to asking their report on their device. They are so familiar. The end outcome role, today we have seen there are 60-year age or 70-year-old age patient are asking their data on their device. They said, boss, I want my report on my WhatsApp platform. So that is a benefit. So there are two things. One, the healthcare organization is also accepting and going towards the digital journey. Simultaneously, the customer are also in that era wherein they are also becoming so sort of tactic and in the acceptance mode. So yes, take home message from my side that data driven is always give a good result in the patient care. Only thing is that we have to select the right technology, right time, right approach, and the right process and protocol base. That's it from my side. This is the topic wherein all the panelists are well versed with so much of knowledge. We can spend the whole day for that all the discussion, but due to time permit, we wind up this session. If anyone have any such input, we are welcome to address. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you all the panelists for very pointed insights shared today on the various aspects of data driving future healthcare. And we do resonate with Dr. Ritu Garg that, the three important aspects of data optimization in the healthcare industry are standardization, simplification, and integration. Thank you, ma'am, for these pointers. We would like to inform the esteemed gathering about the two of our upcoming events, the 4th Diagnostic Leadership Summit on the 22nd and the 23rd of March 2022, and the 2nd Pharma Leadership Summit on the 26th and the 27th of April 2022. I once again extend a warm gratitude to all our esteemed panelists here for their time and presence. Please accept a small token of gratitude from our end through these certificates that we present to Mr. Ravindra Karanjikar. Thank you, sir, for your time and your presence here. Dr. Vikram Agarwal, Chief Executive Officer, Vishwaraj Hospital. Thank you, sir. It was wonderful listening to you. Mr. Naresh, Chief Information Officer, Rainbow Children's Hospital. Thank you, sir. Wonderful to have you here. Dr. Ritu Garg, Zonal Director, Fortis Gurgaon. Thank you, ma'am. It was a pleasure listening to you. And Mr. Anurup Sehgal, Cluster IT Head, Fortis Healthcare Limited. Thanks for your presence, sir. And to our wonderful moderator, Mr. Kishore Gojia, Head IT, CIMS Hospital. Thank you so much to all our panelists for your time and your insights, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.